So thinking about anger, and why is it wrong? Why is it unwholesome? Why can't I just get angry to sort out a problem that has arisen? Someone's doing something wrong. He's being unfair to me. So me getting angry and telling him, showing him
why is that
way,
wrong?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, because
if I'm practicing for Nibbana.
Yeah. You cannot. Well, anyway, it's wrong in itself. Even if you don't practice for Nibbana, if something is wrong and unwholesome, means it contains a contradiction.
Okay.
There is a certain discrepancy. There's certain wrong assumption in the nature of that thing. That's why it's unwholesome. That's what's in common to everything that's unwholesome in this life.
So, what unwholesome means that there is a discrepancy there. There's a contradiction.
Yeah. Which, if you were to see, that thing would cease. So, if you were to see the discrepancy of anger, the contradiction of anger, it would have to cease. You would be free from anger. Of course, when I say removing the anger, doesn't mean it would disappear overnight, because that underlying discrepancy is basically because of your attitude. So it's your view that causes that discrepancy. It's your view that's the result of you being angry and prone to anger or subjected to anger, which means it will take time for that to undo that. But the more you start seeing the discrepancy, the less fuel for it you're providing, and eventually that fuel will have to run out.
So what is the discrepancy?
Exactly. So the discrepancy in anger, regardless of whether you want to practice for Nibbana or not, is the fact that you cannot be angry, have the mind of anger, without implicitly, tacitly assuming that it's caused by the external factor, a thing or a person. But why is there a discrepancy, you might ask? As in, like, what's the other counterpart that would make that a discrepancy? Because seemingly anger is because you said something to me, so I'm angry with you. Or something doesn't work, so I get angry with it. But see, that's the view that the anger is in these external things, while actually anger is in you resisting the discomfort of those external things. So it's one thing on the bottom and another thing on the surface. On the surface, it's, yes, you made me angry. But on the bottom, it's actually, I'm angry with my own feelings, so to speak. I resist my own feelings, which is why I have this anger, which is why I assume it's rooted in you and it's your fault.
So you think that I think I'm angry because of you, because of what you have done, because of what the situation.
Yeah, like thinking why you're angry. That's like, let's just take experience of anger. So there is anger present. It has to be with something external. So on that basic level, whether you think about it or not, and why and so on, that's all secondary. On that basic level, that presence of anger is already a contradiction. Anger is felt where you feel, but it's actually projected on this level of perception. You saw unpleasant sight, perceived unpleasant smell, taste, touch, and so on, thought. But anger is not in those things. Anger can never be perceived in your senses. Anger is always on the emotional level. Why? Because that's where it's rooted. It's rooted in you resisting the discomfort of the unpleasant feeling. So you take that resistance of that discomfort, whatever unpleasant feeling it is, caused by this, caused by that, you take that discomfort at face value, means you're angry with the world. Or you're certainly liable to be angry with the world. You might not give in to proliferating that kind of blame towards the external circumstances, but you will certainly be liable to it. So you might keep yourself in check, but it doesn't mean you're uprooting the anger.
They have the resistance towards.
The resistance towards the unpleasant feeling. That's the root of every anger. If you don't resist the uncomfortable feeling, if you allow it to endure and don't try to get rid of it, it's impossible for you to be angry.
But then you're still uncomfortable.
Yes, of course.
There's still discomfort.
But anger was never discomfort. The anger was never in discomfort. The discomfort was never the problem. The problem was in you not wanting it and trying to resist it.
But yeah, so the anger is never in the discomfort. but it's your attitude towards
the discomfort.
that discomfort.
Anger is a result of that.
So removing that wrong attitude.
Yeah, basically not cultivating the wrong attitude towards the discomfort of the emotion that you might be feeling. That will result in you having removing the basis for getting angry. Like compared to, like, obviously it's a slightly simple example, so to speak, but say you're really weak physically, really fair, really sort of, you can't bear much heat,
Sensitive.
very sensitive in every way. So even the slight, like, change in temperature, and you're just overwhelmed. And then, whether you get angry on account of it or not, you're overwhelmed. You're being overwhelmed by the uncomfortable feelings that are arisen from these discomfortable perceptions. And yes, person without trained mind, when they're subjected to external discomfort, they become irritable, they become angry, they start lashing out on random things and people, just because it's too cold or too hot or too hard or too hungry or not, haven't slept enough. That's all it takes to basically shake up people's sort of mental state that they think they're in control of. Just expose yourself to a bit of elements and you'll see how quickly you're going to lose control over your mind states, because you're never trained to not lose control of your mind states. So somebody very sensitive needs very little, and that's it. He's already overwhelmed. But imagine now you go used to the heat and cold and hunger, and really, like, it doesn't bother you at all. That discomfort is not perceived as something you need to get rid of. Actually becomes inconceivable. The only reason you want to get rid of it is when you're weak. That's when you're bothered. So why would you want to get rid of it when you're not bothered? When you don't feel heat and cold on your skin anymore because you conditioned it, so to speak. Then you wouldn't try to get rid of it. Not trying to get rid of it, you would not suffer on account of it. And you would certainly not become irritable and angry because there's nothing to get rid of. And that's like when the Buddha said that those underlying tendencies, those kilesas, to be overcome, to be destroyed by enduring. And people might think, okay, this is this little niche. It's actually, most of it will boil down to that. The very first thing you endure is sense restraint, pains of renunciation, as we spoke before. That's already a level of enduring. So it's not like, I'll endure this and then I'll fix the problem and then I'll go back to everything else. That's like, your enduring is undermined by the wrong view. Your view should be, I endure whatever arises for as long as it arises. I don't even hope on the level of the view that I can go back to it after I endured it.
So it's not about enduring, just about anything, enduring the weather and becoming a hard person, non-sensitive. You got to know why.
Well, exactly. It's not about blind enduring or blind asceticism, but for some people, weather might be exactly that. In other words, it's not specifically what you endure, it's more like where your reasons are rooted in. What is the underlying view? But that's a kind of a different topic. First, you need to start enduring. You're going to have wrong views one way or the other, so you need to start enduring. And you don't need to go and live on top of a mountain and freeze to death. Just start practicing sense restraint and you have more than you can handle enduring. But that is the enduring, that you're subjected to the senses, to the pull of the senses. You're subjected to that external world, but now you're enduring it, you're not cultivating your attitude towards it. And that's how you'll eventually get to see that it's all rooted in you simply, automatically, blindly, ignorantly resisting uncomfortable feelings and indulging comfortable feelings. And there is no reason for that, by the way. Ignorance is gratuitous. There is no reason that you give in to lust. Not knowing that, that's why you give in to lust. So that's what I mean. Anger is bad because anger is always rooted in that discrepancy.
So I resist unpleasant feelings. And that it can never free you from that fact that you are suffering.
No.
Anger cannot free you from being unable to endure.
No, anger is the result.
Yeah.
So like anger is obviously, like a symptom. Like you have an underlying condition that makes your skin itch. Because of that, you scratch your skin. Because of that, the underlying condition spreads and gets even worse. So anger is that scratching of skin. Sensuality is that scratching of skin. It's not the problem, it's the result of the problem, that it's aggravating the problem. Hence, you need to stop scratching first. Sense restraint needs to be established. Now, to what extent you're going to take that sense restraint, well, that depends on your environment and how far you want to go in the practice. Like, if you really want to practice for freedom from suffering, freedom from sensuality, you have to be celibate. That sense restraint needs to be taken all the way up to celibacy, which is the ultimate sense restraint. But if you sort of, that's a bit too much, certainly to begin with, you have to then start with 5 precepts and then practice sense restraint within that. Not just, I keep the 5 precepts and now I can be careless. And then every now and then take 8 precepts.
The measure, the indicator that you are doing things rightly, you've said this before, the indicator which shows that you are doing things rightly can be the amount of chaos that you can tolerate.
In a way, yes, exactly. The amount of elements you can be subjected to without losing your composure.
But if you can see it, I can endure all this chaos, fully composed. Things are going well.
Well, you certainly are going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. See, the main problem why people cannot see that the root of anger, root of sensuality is in you resisting whatever present feeling it's enduring within you. The main reason they can't see that is because they habitually, automatically react to it, either with sensuality or anger or distraction. So you need to stop that automatic, habitual reacting out. And you stop that by enduring non-reacting. And then if it doesn't feel like many more enduring, then you increase your non-reacting. Then you tighten your sense restraint. Then you take on celibacy. Maybe I can't do it for the rest of my life. Okay, do it as a lay person for a month. See what strain your mind is under then, and grow from it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see maybe it wasn't actually as bad as you projected it to be. Either way, it's necessary if you want to actually arrive anywhere in the Dhamma. Mm-hmm. Like, even as I said many times it's understandable that people kind of wonder. I had like the noble disciples, Sotapanna, Sakyamunis, they were still with sensuality living in the lay world. They were after they got the right view, after they got a degree of their liberation, not before or while. That's why even in the suttas, when the Buddha was teaching lay people and they were getting the right view, he would teach them, as we said before, generosity, rebirth, the whole thing, and then the peril of sensuality, the drawbacks, how little it's not worth those pleasures, must be renounced, the danger in it. And then he would teach them the Dhamma on top of that. And then, sure, if they got the liberation, then they might feel like, okay, this is more than enough for me. I have duties to attend, and then go back to their life. But that's not to say that they arrived at that liberation through their lay life. Mm. Lay life is incompatible with it. Lay life of sensuality, that is. Not like not wearing robes. That's not what makes you a layman. It's whether you pursue sensuality or not. That's what does. So even, as I said, even with all the wrong views or uncorrected views that a person might have, you want to basically start enduring sense restraint, enduring uncomfortable feelings when they arise. You don't need to seek them out, but you certainly should not run away from them either. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a bit. Is it life-threatening? No. Then why are you afraid of it?
You don't have to go far to feel.
No. Like there was that in other suttas said there are certain things that to be wisely avoided. A wild elephant, wild dog, a tiger, snake, whatever else. Things basically can result in killing you. Yeah, you recognize I'm acting out of fear here, but there is a good chance I might die, and I still am not enlightened, so I better not die, so that I can practice towards liberation, and then later, if I come across a wild elephant, I might decide to not run away or something. So it's like, you never sacrifice your intellect That's one of the main characteristics of the Dhamma. Yeah, you shouldn't act out of fear, but it doesn't mean you sacrifice your intellect now and go blindly walk into fire because, you must never act out of fear. No. You still keep your reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is out of fear. But if I avoid this out of fear, I might get to live, and then I might get actually to understand and free myself from fear. But if I don't, I'm just avoiding responsibility for my own actions, projected on this ideal of Dhamma, and just walk into certain death.
But they're saying you don't have to go anywhere.
No.
To feel.
You just need to restrain your mind from going everywhere, and that's already going to cause you to feel a lot more.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons why the quickest way to get in touch with your feelings, even in the New Age spiritual manner, is start practicing sense restraint. You'll feel much more. Mundane things, daily things, you will feel them amplified because now you're restrained.
Yeah. To make things.
Yeah, that's how you truly get in touch with your feelings, not by seeking them further out or mystifying them even further. No, by saying no to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It will make you feel immediately.
Sense restraint equals getting in touch with your feelings.
Yeah. Well, sense restraint equals you feeling the touch of your feelings. Because it's not your choice whether you're going to get in touch or not. You're subjected to them, whether you ignore them or not. It's the same.
Yeah, your feelings don't care.
They don't even know you're there. They don't care. You don't exist for them.
You want to resist it. You want to take it on.
Even
you want to accept
it's
it.
Indifferent to them.
Feelings do not care.
Yeah.
So the discomfort that is there will come regardless of what you think about it.
Yeah.
If you want it there or not. So that's by just sitting still, not going anywhere.
It's going to be very unpleasant.
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
If you never done this, you're going to feel like you're being overwhelmed. Basically.
So right there, this discomfort, displeasure.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine to use your reason and to recognize that I can't handle this right now.
Yeah.
That is a valid recognition. So I can't just suddenly endure scorching heat and hunger. I will die. The body will shut down.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one thing, and another thing is to then develop a view that I don't have to deal with this pressure and the boredom. Because I can't, that's why I don't have to. No, that's an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
So you recognize that you are unable, not strong enough, not trained enough to endure not having anything to do and not pursuing distractions and sensuality. But that doesn't mean you dismiss that as a goal. To train yourself so to be able to endure it and not give in to sensuality. That's why we said a person needs to be developed in the body and in the mind. And for as long as they're not developed in those things, they will be attracted to sensuality and pulled in anger as well. So you will, by developing yourself, a certain necessary threshold of strength, so to speak, of self-control in that manner, then you will not be maintaining these discrepant actions of sensuality, ill will and distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have other talks people can search on our channel where we talk about what is meant by this sense restraint. It's not about saying no to everything, because saying no to every sight is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So what is meant by sense restraint is basically saying no to things that are rooted in greed, aversion, delusion, and not saying no to things that are not rooted in greed, aversion, delusion, which means, so you need to look back behind whatever you want to do, whatever you've been doing, whatever you're currently doing and planning to do. You have to look, where is your motivation rooted in? Why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? Why am I performing this action, planning that action?
Mm. Because a person can do that questioning. Well, why am I beating this person up? Because it's the right thing to do.
Well, but that's not questioning it far enough. It feels like the right thing to do. How do you know? Where is your proof that it's the right thing to do? Right thing means think free from contradiction.
It feels good for me.
Right. So whatever it feels for me,
I'm happy that the person's being beaten up and getting his
okay,
big pocket coming to him.
because you choose to beat him up. That's his vipaka. So if somebody chooses to beat you up, you will be indifferent equally. You will be actually not indifferent. You'll be filled with joy because you're getting what's coming to you. But see, so that's disingenuous, because you know that will not be the case. So can you genuinely be filled with joy if somebody is beating you and abusing you up completely?
No.
To their own, no. So then the view that, oh no, this is joyful, this is the righteous action, is a contradictory view, because it's righteous if it's not applied to me. If it's applied to me, then it's not righteous. So that's what I mean. If you question things far enough, you will arrive at discrepancy, you will arrive at a contradiction, and then, well, basically you have a choice. You're either going to pretend you haven't seen it, there is no contradiction, or you will realize, okay, I need to change my views. You can't arrive at a contradiction, not ignore it, and not change your views. So you cannot arrive at the understanding, recognition of anger, and then be angry. If you arrive at it, you'll either have to ignore what you arrive at it in order to maintain anger, or if you don't ignore it, anger will dissipate.
So getting angry to protect the Dhamma. That getting angry,
well, again, that's a contradiction.
If it does not lead to Nibbana if you have the intention.
You can
to
only
protect
get
the Dhamma.
angry in order to protect your idea of Dhamma. But if you were to bother and find out what the actual Dhamma is, or what is the closest to what Dhamma has been when the Buddha was teaching it, you would realize, well, Dhamma is that which is free from anger, free from sensuality, free from sexual intercourse, free from slander, free from lying, free from stealing, cheating, free from everything unwholesome. So if I do any of these unwholesome things on account of to protect Dhamma, I am contradicting the Dhamma.
So if the Dhamma...
So that's what I mean. The only way you can maintain a contradiction is to ignore the fact that, not push it far enough to see whether it's a contradiction or not.
Acting out of defilement is not freeing yourself from defilement.
No, that's the result of you not being free from
You cannot decide that. I will just decide that acting out of defilement, maintaining defilement, will, for me, lead to Nibbana, that the Buddha spoke about.
No, because that's at odds. It can perhaps lead to whatever skewed idea of Nibbana you developed for yourself, but it cannot lead to that which the Buddha said Nibbana is. It's like, well, how do you know what the Buddha said? Well, read the suttas.
So, but
because yes, they were back in the day. Many people saying, no, this is Nibbana. No, this is Nibbana. They had their own Nibbanas. They had their own enlightenments. And they were teaching it, and they even had followers. Followers who were like-mindedly ignoring basically contradictions of their own thinking, of their own intellect, of their own existence. You always want to look for the universal nature of things, of your actions, thoughts and so on, intentions. You don't want to just, oh no, this feels right now, but I kind of know that universally, if this is always to be done, it's not actually good. Then it's not good. It means it's a contradiction. In its nature, it contains that discrepancy. And Dhamma is free from these contradictions in its nature. So you recognize things as they are. That's what that means, by the way. Nothing spiritual, like, as they are. No, as they factually are, free from any misperception that you might have placed there. So you want to be finding truth on that universal nature. So if you say anger is bad for everyone. Always.
You can't fudge it.
You want to arrive at that universal understanding, which is basically the principle of any philosophy. At least that's how it starts. Now they might go in different directions, but it is. You have to arrive at the universal nature of it, which is universally killing is always bad. Now if you don't know why that is, you can just adopt the idea that killing is always bad, or you can adopt the idea that killing is always bad and then arrive at it yourself and confirm that killing is always bad. Anger is always bad. Same. Sensuality is always bad. If something is unwholesome, means in its nature it's not good. Doesn't mean that it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, it's pleasant.
Doesn't matter how it's felt.
Unwholesome
In its
things
nature,
feel pleasant.
you want to arrive at understanding whether it's in its principle, whether this is good or bad, if it's free from contradiction or not free from contradiction. And same, we've done other talks like, so why is sensuality then a contradiction? Because you're genuinely attracted to the ugly. You have perception of beauty in regard to the disgusting. You're not seeing the disgusting because you're putting your perception of beauty first. Then disgusting can come in secondary. Yet, there is no beauty without the disgusting, but there can be disgusting without the beauty. So it's because of your view, you're attracted to that which is genuinely repulsive. If it were not repulsive, the attraction would not be possible. So it's repulsive, and it's impossible to ignore the repulsive, and that's how you become attracted. So if it's not repulsive also, freedom from attraction would not be possible.
Well, you make an effort to see the beauty.
Yeah, you are making effort. You are selectively picking only, as the Buddha said, on the signs of beauty and ignoring the fundamental framework of those signs, as in even more general signs of those particular signs of beauty, and those general signs are always ugly, always repulsive, always unattractive. Yeah. So in itself, as I said, regardless of what you think, what your views of sensuality are, in itself, existentially speaking, sensuality is a contradiction. Anger is a contradiction. Distraction is a contradiction. Plus, aversion delusion, the fundamental, basically, outpourings of the ignorance, for which every individual is responsible.
Distraction is a contradiction. Because you want to distract yourself from that which you already...
Well, how can you distract yourself from something without that being the reason for your action, which means you're carrying it with you? You're doing it because I want to get away from this. So you're not getting away from whatever you're trying to distract yourself from, because you're carrying it as the reason for your action of going away from it. So the only true way of getting away from what's unpleasant on that level of your feelings is to not act out of it. That's how it will subside, but not overnight, which is why people cannot, even if sometimes they don't act out of it, they cannot see the connection between not acting out of it and things subsiding, because it takes repetition over a period of time of not acting out of it, and then eventually you get to see that as the cause for things subsiding.
That's the Sotapanna also knows the escape from central.
He saw that. That's
he knows the escape.
That's the right view. So when
you
see the right connection of the right things, and that's what I mean. Before I was saying you cannot arrive at the right view or the Dhamma, because there is no Dhamma before the right view. You cannot arrive at the Dhamma accidentally, because you can accidentally do one thing once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, but without any apparent discernible result, you won't be doing that thing unless you accept, basically on faith, the external instruction of the Buddha or somebody of his disciples that tells you, no, you should stick to it and keep doing it. So you have no verifiable thing through your senses that proves that sense restraint will remove this sensuality, will make feelings subside and so on. But you do it out of faith, and because you do it, feelings will subside. And that's similarly the Buddha, the carpenter with the axe, who uses the axe to chop the wood every day. And he can't come like today and look at the handle and say, oh, yesterday was this much, now it's this much worn off. Tomorrow no, he just keeps you doing it and not even think about it. He's using it and using it and using it, practicing. Then one day he walks in and says, oh, I have to replace this handle. I can't use it anymore, it's way too thin.
Or what used to make me suffer,
exactly.
I no longer suffer. In the midst of this chaos.
In the midst of the same thing, same chaos, same thing that used to make me suffer, I don't feel anything now in regard to it. And that's a true freedom. If you don't feel anything and no pressure, there will be no burden to deal with the pressure. So you're burdenless and free from needing to do anything because there's nothing being felt. And that's the true peaceful feeling. That's the true pleasure.
Diminishing feelings, the pressure of feelings.
But diminishing the pressure of feelings. You can't diminish the feelings, but you can diminish how much you're moved by those feelings by increasing your strength. But usually people leave that unchecked, and all the acts are aimed at dealing with the feeling, removing with the feeling, dampening the feeling, increasing the feeling, whatever else. And that's already a contradiction of the same type, like anger and sensuality. You think the problem is in the feeling. No. The problem is in you being weak in regard to what you're feeling. Good or bad. See, if you're weak when you feel pleasant, you cannot help but welcome it, entertain it, delight in it, indulge in it, and act towards more of that pleasure. When you are weak, when you feel something unpleasant, you cannot help but try to get rid of it, deny it, ignore it, not have it arisen, basically. You want to get rid of the discomfort. When you're weak, when it's neither pleasant nor unpleasant, you cannot help but ignore it and want to distract yourself.
To face your feelings.
Yeah.
Face feelings.
Pretty much.
Stop pressurizing.
Yeah, feelings. So, see, you said something that's upsetting for me, for example. That's not the problem. The fact that you can say it again, it's not a problem. That you could, that you might will, maybe you will say it again. Now there's a problem. The problem is that discomfort that's now enduring in my experience as a whole on account of what you said, I'm implicitly trying to get rid of it. I'm resisting it. I do not want it. So if you stop resisting it, you remove the basis for anger. And if you repeat that sufficient amount of time, you'll see through it. And then you'll be incapable of becoming angry. And that's why I said it before, like sometimes people, you just have to accept things that have a reason for you. And that's true, partially. Because when it's sensuality, opposite of anger, well, you are accepting that too much. So if your rule of thumb is just let everything be and accept everything and be one with everything, your rule of thumb then is to accept things that are already overly accepted.
Right.
Anger is under accepted. So yes, you need to accept it a bit more, what you're feeling, in order to stop being angry. But sensuality is overly accepted. So you need to withdraw yourself from that acceptance. Say no to it in order basically to see through it. Middle way.
Yeah, that's the middle way.
Yeah. So you can't just a blanket rule of thumb, I accept everything. Because you're not. So that which is overly accepted,
you're not reacting.
That's what the Buddha meant when in those verses when they asked him, so how did you cross the shore? He says, by not pushing forward, by not swimming backward, by not standing still.
The not
because
standing still is the
neutral feeling. So when you feel neither good nor bad, exactly. So don't try to get rid of that feeling by distracting yourself from it. So in overly accepting, you don't accept. In under accepting, you accept. In neither accepting nor not accepting, you don't ignore. So you don't fight the waves, you don't pull backwards, you don't stand still. Also, what do? You don't fight the waves, you don't pull backwards, that's what you do. It's that negative action. You abstain from this doing on this occasion and that doing on that occasion. That's it. Only these three things you need to do.
That's the method.
It's nothing else. Is this rooted in sensuality? Then I'll say no. Is this rooted in anger? Then I should say yes to this feeling, not to acting out of anger. I'm talking on the level of feelings. Oh, is this, how do I feel now? Neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Okay, so I should not ignore that. I should not basically become stagnant in it because I will sink. So there's the uncomfortable feeling. Oh, so I'm under accepting it, so to speak. I'm trying to get rid of it. So I need to accept the uncomfortable feeling for what it is. And then the problem disappears. Oh, there is an extremely comfortable feeling and prospect of increasing it. Oh, I need to say no to that. But if you say no to under accepted feeling, you're just doubling down in your anger. And if you say yes to your overly accepted feeling of sensuality, you're doubling down in sensuality. And how will you know where it is? Look where your motivation is rooted. What are you doing? What are you doing for? And what's the present enduring feeling while you're doing that or planning to do that? Oh, I want to go such and such place. Why? Oh, because some people there need to see. Yeah, but why do you need to? Can you not see them? Just ask yourself. If you question yourself far enough, you'll see, no, I genuinely need to do it. It's practical purpose or whatever. Or it will be, oh no, I'm just basically bored and I'm seeking company and I'm trying to justify it to myself. So you're acting out of feeling. And you're trying to cover up. That is a reason.
So, what am I feeling? What is my attitude? to this feeling. And so how does that...
Am I acting out of it?
Yeah.
I'm feeling this pressure of this boredom, I haven't been going out for a while. It's like, okay, but why is that a problem now? You have to recognize it's a problem because you're being pressured to act. So yes, okay, I can't handle it. I need to do something, fine. But don't ignore the fact that you acted out of weakness. Because by not ignoring the fact that you acted out of weakness, you do not devalue the goal of not acting out of weakness. And that's how eventually you will become stronger.
Yeah, so you have to be honest with yourself and accept when you are weak.
When you're weak, exactly.
That it's not
no
good
weak
enough.
Mind as the weak mind. Yeah.
It's not good enough.
Yeah. Because I can't handle it, so I went out and distracted myself.
Yeah, fine.
That's fine in that regard, but it's not fine if you use that to now justify that you don't need to restrain yourself. And there is nothing wrong in going out. There's nothing wrong in being out, but there is wrong in going out on account of the pressure of your feelings. So in itself, very few things are wrong. But if you look at the motivation behind those things that are done, then everything can be wrong. Because everything can be done for the wrong reason. And that's what makes you wrong. So if you act out of weakness, you recognize that, and then you still do not neglect, you do not ignore, you don't cover up, you don't devalue the value of your goal to not act out of weakness. Which means when you act out of weakness, the discrepancy will be felt how? Like guilt, remorse.
Or shame. Yeah.
Shame, exactly. And that's a good type. Because it's from the point of view of what I value, what is fitting for my values, as the Buddha would say. I acted like this, and that's not fitting. So I feel ashamed, good. Allow that shame to endure. Next time you're about to act against your values, well, you'll be more aware of what you're about to do. And the more you're aware of it, the less automatically, habitually you'll act towards it. In other words, sense restraint will be easier.
You're always making things clear. That's the goal. That is the goal. That
is the goal. The goal remains unchanged. Yeah.
So
the only thing that can change about the goal is you can become even clearer about it.
Yeah, even if you're failing.
Even if you're
that's not a problem. But if you ignore your failure, your failure is your weakness.
If you ignore your failure, means okay, you're not neglecting, you're not ignoring the goal, but you're ignoring the fact that you're constantly contradicting it, which means there's no progress. But the even worse thing than that is on account of inability, basically to not act out of weakness. So on account of your constant failures of acting out of weakness, you then reshape your goal. You say, no, you don't need to be sense restrained. No, celibacy is only optional. No, the Buddha taught that back in the day, that was applicable, now it's not. All of that, say, even if it were true, it's not for you because it's rooted in you simply justifying your weakness. Only if you are fully free from your weakness, already enlightened mind, then you can revisit what the Buddha said and done and see if it's applicable or not. Until then, it will be rooted in your own weakness because you're not seeing it. The only way you could see sensuality is you become free from it. Fully understanding it, fully seeing it, you'll know the escape from it. So you now saying, no, you don't need to be restrained, or you need to be restrained, or you don't need to do this, it's all just stabbing in the dark, and it has to be rooted somewhere. So it's going to be rooted in that which you have, which is weakness, acting out of my weakness. So you first need to qualify yourself to revisit whether there is another alternative to be taught of. The Dhamma can be taught in. But you don't need to really look that far. I mean, you can revisit if you want, but it's pointless effort because if you have even a degree of understanding of the Dhamma, you will realize that, there's a reason the Buddha was called the foremost in formulating the Dhamma. Even previous Buddha were not so precise and eloquent and accurate like he was. And now you think you can do away with those instructions? Because why? Ask yourself. It might make sense. No, I don't need to do this. Okay, fine. Now ask yourself, why do I hold such a view? Where is that rooted? Is it rooted in the fact that, am I free from sensuality? Or not? Not. So could it possibly be that it's rooted in just me trying to justify my weakness because it's too unpleasant to deal with it? Yes.
No.
You can say no, but again, there can be an arbitrary answer for which you will not have support. Because if you question no, how do I know no? You don't. What do you do know? Well, I do know that that I do act out of pressure and weakness. When sensuality arises, I can't restrain myself. When anger presents itself, well, I still feel angry. I still hate that person. Even if I restrain my act, that's good, but I still hate him. So you don't have a perspective then on whether you can do away with sense restraint or not, and to what extent. That's why the Vinaya, Sila, precepts, the whole thing needs to be taken on first. Then later on, like when the minds were pure completely from greed, aversion, delusion, yes, you don't need to keep all the precepts. But there are certain precepts that you cannot not keep. Which is all the precepts that are based in sensuality. Or killing, exactly. So precepts, they were rooted around sensuality, anger, carelessness, these things.
Concealing truth.
It's impossible to break those precepts, yeah. But there were those precepts in between, they were kind of a response to this and that. And that sometimes people try to bundle the fundamental precepts, like the 8 precepts. They try to bundle with all these other arbitrary precepts of the kind of social structure at the time. Don't wear your robe like this, don't do that. Like, no, those are earth and sky. But even then, if you were to do away with them, you can only do once you free yourself from all these underlying tendencies that would be resulting in wrongdoings. But any precept that has to do with sensuality, ill will, harm, cruelty, that's not optional. That needs to be taken beforehand, and then when you get to understand the truth, you become those precepts. So you don't need to keep the precepts of being celibate as an arahant, because that is your mode of being.
Yeah, you can't.
Sexual intercourse is inconceivable. You cannot keep the precepts of. You don't have to keep the precept of I will not kill anyone, because it's inconceivable to intentionally kill anyone.
Or not to lie.
Or not lying, exactly. You don't. I need to make the effort to not lie. No, it's inconceivable for you to lie. Because you took on the values, the fundamental values, through sense restraint, through faith, through precepts, but then molded yourself into them. So you took the value of strength, you took the value of arahantship, the goal of arahantship, and then you haven't done everything that was preventing you from fitting in it. And that's it.